Buddha Baker. He embodies the approach to preparation necessary to succeed. Just through and throughout how he goes about his business. You can see the way he walk. Oh, Buddha got somewhere to be. When he goes through the ladder, he can be cracking jokes with somebody all the way till his toe hit the first box, and he's dialed in all the way to the 3 hard steps when he comes out, and then he's back into the world. So it's just that intense focus that he carries, and he's just a different breed in the truth. It's guys like Buddha who make the job worth it for sure. And that was something that one of our coaches in Arizona told me as well. When they seen how I trained, was that training like that, it can't do anything but make you a better coach, because it's like you're in that position as a coach. You're not just trying to call it, or you develop a program and they're going through it and you're just kind of gauge your RPE, and you just really don't know what's going on inside of there. So that piece alone is the part that makes you say, okay, yeah, this is the way to go, and obviously you'll do it as long as you're of able body to do so on the coaching side.
Hello, and welcome back to PA Chalk Up. Today we've got one of my good friends from UW. Hi Kev, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. How you?
I'm good.
All right.
Nice to see you again.
Absolutely. Likewise, brother.
We've not caught up in a while, so I'm excited for this episode.
So am I. It's my first one, so I'm excited to get into it.
I love it. This is legit one of my favorite parts about it. It's just like I get to talk to people that I'm genuinely excited to talk to.
Yeah,
I'm
you
excited.
you ain't working,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you just give us a little breakdown on who you are and what you've done.
Yeah, so I'm Kevin Green. I'm originally from Erie, Pennsylvania. I graduated from Slippery Rock in 2016 with a degree in professional studies with a public health concentration. I moved on from football in 2016. Was just in the workforce for a little while, until 2018. I was coaching high school football just to get the game back around. That led me to, getting back into training, uh, physically training, and try to give the game one last go before I hung it up officially. And that led me to playing arena football in Green Bay in 2020. 2020, COVID happened, ended that season, and that was kind of the marker for me to hang it up officially and shift my focus to thinking long term. And since then, it went into the NASM program, got my CPT from NASM. Was doing some general population training, knowing that high performance would be the end goal for me. Got my first opportunity in high performance out here in Seattle at Ford Sports Performance under Tracy Ford. And then from there, got an opportunity to intern with Ron McKeefrey here at the University of Washington. Um, did my thing with Coach Mack. He told me if I came in, worked hard, kept a good attitude, good things will happen. And, that's how I'm wired anyway, blue collar mentality, boots on the ground, the whole thing. So, just kind of came in, learning, eager, growth mindset at the forefront. And my performance in the internship then granted a recommendation from Coach Mack to Buddy Morris and the physical preparation staff of the Arizona Cardinals in the National Football League. So I did my couple rounds of interviews for that. Was granted that opportunity just for training camp. Went out for training camp, did my thing out there, which led me then, to Buddy Morris. Let me know that he, informed the front office that he wanted me to be retained for the season, and then for the foreseeable future after that. Um, things happen at that level that are outside of your control. So I'm back here at the University of Washington, and I'm happy to be back around the guys as they chase the history that the potential that this team has. So it's been truly a blessing. Uh, a little bit of an accelerated process for me. Just being 2 years into the industry, but good things happen when you're willing to learn and you have a growth mindset and gratitude for those who give you an opportunity. And I'm a servant leader. So my good is the good of the whole. That's where I get my satisfaction from. So, to see the team win and play my part however I need to, um, has granted me, the positions that I've been in so far, to have two great mentors such as Ron McKeefery, Buddy Morris, be the foundation of the coach that I'm becoming.
Yeah, and you've kind of touched about it. It's that growth mindset that you have that's sort of taking you to these places.
Mhm.
How did that sort of develop, and how are you constantly just progressing through your career?
It's just never being satisfied. Never, no understanding that there's always more information that you don't have. Coming from a smaller town, getting out here to Seattle and seeing, different things, that's something that you carry with. So you always got that chip on your shoulder that you got to learn more, need to see more, need to do more. And that's just pretty much the wiring that was built inside my DNA just from being raised where I was raised. So that's something that I always make a joke and say, it doesn't matter what logo sits on my chest, what seat I sit in. um, that same hustle that Coach Maxine that got me a recommendation for an NFL internship as an intern in his program will be the same work ethic that you'll see regardless if I'm an intern or a head strength coach at the highest level.
Yeah. So what's that progression been like for you, going from playing to then joining the S&C and then joining performance?
Yeah, it was a little tricky at first because somebody like me, I like to be once again humble and appreciative to all endeavors that I'm a part of, right? So coming into the S&C side of things, you understand a lot of people, have football careers that come to an end, whether that be
Mm,
abruptly or through the end of eligibility. And what's the first thing they decide to do? Oh, I can train somebody. Whether it's through science or not. But I wanted to make sure that I came into the game, humble and respective to the fact that there's a wealth of information needed to acquire to be not only an effective coach but a safe coach.
mm,
So I wanted to respect the game in that regard and not just be another former athlete coming into the game and possibly messing things up or not doing things the right way. That's always been my thing, is just wanting to do things the right way. I don't need to compare methods or anything like that or stand around doing those kind of things. Just want to know what works and how I can progress and service my athletes in the best way possible to benefit them and not myself.
mm. And it's quite interesting that you say that, because I've seen you. Obviously, we've worked out together, and I
Hmm.
see how like hungry you still are, and how
Hmm.
much you chase those sort of hardships that you get with lifting.
Yeah, yeah.
Has that How has that process been for you?
It just so coming out of college, I didn't do things as well as I should have done them, and I acknowledge that. And so part of it, coming into the S&C side was just to, literally give it the true go of the diet, the proper rest, the adequate recovery, as I'm learning the scientific foundation side of things, testing them on myself. And, I can humbly say here, I'm a better athlete than I was 7 years removed from my playing career than I've ever been. And that's just simply through doing things the right way, which it helps in preparing yourself for life. I say train for life. You always are performing in some regard, what I mean, whether you're playing or not.
Mm,
There's always some aspect of performance that humans need to be aware of and hopefully trying to improve as they go through the course of life. But just doing those things to become a better strength coach, understand different concepts and things like that while going through performance type workouts and things like that. And then, like I said, becoming a better athlete because of it. I'm able to connect with my players on a deeper
mhm.
level because I feel what they feel, not only from the workout side of things, because I've probably done the workout prior to them doing the workout, but I also understand what they feel, what they need, how their body operates from the football side as well, which is unique in our industry.
100%. I think that's the best thing that I like that really got drilled into my head when I was there. It was like do the workouts before the guys do the workouts,
Hmm.
because then you know exactly what they're feeling, but you know mentally as well when it starts sucking for them.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when it starts sucking, then you can be like, "Let's go, guys, let's go.
Yeah.
You've got this." Um, how was that transfer sort of been for you? Obviously, playing at a high level and then coaching now at a high level.
Just like you said, you understand the whole process of what's going on. So, it just makes you that much better of a coach. And that was something that one of our coaches in Arizona told me as well, when they seen how I trained, was that, training like that, it can't do anything but make you a better coach, because it's like you're in that position as a coach. You're not just trying to eyeball it, or can't you develop a program, and they're going through it. Excuse me. And you're just kind of gauge your RPE, and you just really don't know what's going on inside of there. So just that piece alone
Mm.
is the part that makes you say, okay, yeah, this is the way to go. And obviously you'll do it as long as you're of able body to do so on the coaching side.
Yes, sir. So what was that difference like between D1 sort of college football and then moving up to the Arizona Cardinals?
It was a big difference, obviously, because when you go into the NFL, it's a whole different ball game, right? It's the highest of the high. It's a lot on the line, across the board. So, for me, the biggest thing was, going into it, how do I get these guys to buy into who I am?
Mm.
The intern coming from University of Washington, younger coach. How do I get these guys to trust in what I bring to the table of the physical preparation staff at the Cardinals? And it just goes back to being yourself. You know what I mean? I understood that I'm a grinder. I'm passionate. I'm very detailed in terms of execution of the work. So I knew that those guys who valued that would find their way to me, and those were
Mm.
the guys who, you know, I would be servicing the most, rather than not. So that was the biggest adjustment, was just getting in there and just truly trusting yourself. There was a lot of good coaches on that staff who, when I first got there, took me under the wing, letting me know that trust what you do. You be doing yourself and this team a disservice, to not hold them accountable, to try to be their friend, XYZ. So to just go in and truly just be yourself. So that's what really put it over the top for me
Mm.
to go in and thrive the way I did and get the reception and buy-in that I did from the players, was just truly being myself. They see me work out, they understand that I'm in it for the right reasons. Once, because the biggest difference between this level and that level, those guys have seen everything, and you've heard this from Coach Mack. They've seen all the fancy facilities, they've been to all the fancy places, they got the fancy trainers and specialists. So they can see right through you if you're not in it for the right reasons, or if you're trying to mask something, or if you can't really truly help them, they'll know. So that was just the biggest piece. And they respect authenticity more than
Mm.
anything. So that's the biggest piece that gets that buy-in. That's so coveted in our industry, but it just all circles back to just being yourself and being in it for the right reasons.
Yeah. When it comes to sort of the schedule and how long you've got them to sort of help build these relationships, how does the schedule work with the S&C?
Yeah, so that's something that you deal with in the NFL, and that a lot of coaches, shout out to them, for being able to navigate that. Just the lack of time that you do have with them.
Hello?
You there?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
That's all good. We can just take it from there.
Okay. Yeah, so just navigating the lack of time that you do have with those players, and still being able to come up with a comprehensive program to still, do your job as the head preparation coach. But typically the most time that you'll have with the athletes is in the off season. But
Mm.
a lot of guys, like I said, they go their way. They got this guy here, or they want to do this here. Sometimes it's mandatory for the rookies to be there from rookie season, going into year two, because that's where you make a lot of the jumps. The biggest jumps that you'll make in your career is that year one to year two. So they're not really trusting anyone, outside of their building to push you,
Mm,
to make that jump for you. So, but other than that, it's just pretty much the buy-in that you have from the guys and who's willing to stay around and be around. But mainly during the season, it's sub maximal work. A bunch of maintenance work, in season stuff, just to keep them protected, injury prevention, things of that nature. So it's not a ton of time that you get, and that's one of the things that I'm sure if you talk to any coach who's coached in the NFL, is one of the more frustrating aspects of the
mm.
job. But like I said, it's a testament to those coaches, the ones who are able to still drive a highly effective program given those circumstances.
Yeah. So with the rookies having to sort of stay there, what's what's the team dynamic like when they see some of the other players not being there?
It's part of the game. It's not, they're not looking at them, any type of way because of it. It's just, these are grown men we're talking about. So, they have the freedom to make the decisions that they want. They might have a guy who's been training them since they were 3 years old or something like that, and that's just, that's who they do their dirty work with
Mm,
in terms of, the training, the off season grind. And so it just varies. Obviously, the teams will want everybody to be there, being developed under the people who they pay to develop folks. But you just it comes with the territory. Everybody understands that, so it's not really a negative or positive thing. Um,
yeah.
that's what I would say there.
Yeah, that's what I kind of wanted you to touch on because I know these high level sort of athletes kind of are a little bit more refined as to what they need. Like
Hmm.
they know I need to get better at top accelerated work, so they'll seek someone out for that. And
Hmm.
like they've got like this whole staff behind who they are as a athlete.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know the difference between sort of because a lot of coaches I've seen other athletes with other coaches and other team coaches, and people are sometimes like, why is that? And it's not that they don't trust the program; it's just like they want to have control over what they're doing.
Right. 100%. And that's all it is at the end of the day is, that comfortability level. Because like I said, initially, everything there's a lot more at stake at that level. So every decision, everything you eat, everything you do, everything you say, has a cost somewhere, so to speak. And that's a slight exaggeration, but that's what it is. So for them to put their trust in someone that could possibly hinder or
Mm,
compress their career, it just all comes back to a comfort level thing. And it's just, you'd rather be and do what you're comfortable with versus, the other side of that.
100%. What have you found that the mentality differences are like between sort of UW and the Cardinals in terms of their athletes?
The mentality is going to be the mentality of a football player. Um, Once again, you're dealing with kids, young adults from around 18, 17, 18 years old up to about 22, 23. And at the NFL level, you can be dealing with anyone from 21 to 40 something. So again, these are grown men with families, multiple children. It's just the game is just different, from their approach. Their approach to preparation is different because of those things, right? If you got kids at home, a wife that you need to provide for, your intensity and mentality probably will be a little bit more intense when it comes to taking care of your schedule, doing the things that you need to do versus that of a 18-year-old kid who only has himself to worry about
Mm,
and is not look probably not playing, so it's just kind of you just lollygag into the weight room. Not saying that's what's going on at UW, but just to compare and contrast the two, that would be the biggest mentality difference if you had to pinpoint one. But
mm,
it's all about the work at the end of the day. Everybody's in it for the same reason. They understand that the S&C side of things is the foundation of our game, so it can't be overlooked or sidestepped in any form or fashion because that just hinders the athlete at the end of the day.
100%. What was the best mentality that you've sort of saw at both levels?
Oh man, Buda Baker. Buda
Nice.
Baker, man. Buda Baker, he embodies, the approach to preparation necessary to succeed. Just through and throughout how he goes about his business. You can see the way he walk. Oh, Buda got somewhere to be. When he goes through the ladder, he can be cracking jokes with somebody all the way till his toe hit the first box, and he's dialed in all the way to the three hard steps when he comes out, and then he's back into the world. So, that's just that intense focus that he carries, and he's just a different breed in the true
Mm.
sense. He
And
guys like Buddha who make the job worth it for sure.
yeah, can you sort of explain what it's like to see that switch happen from like being in the line and then starting, and then they're just like the switch.
Yeah, you just see it. It's like if you heard the Mamba mentality, killer instinct. You just literally it's a whole different mode. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So like literally can be laughing, smiling, or doing whatever, and then you just see the whole demeanor just changes in a matter of milliseconds.
mm,
And then it goes back into it. But that's how that you're training, not only training your body, you're training a mentality. Because this is the mentality that you need when you play the game. So that's the mentality that you need to take into your training session, which is what I tell a lot of young guys. When I'm talking to them in terms of preparation, understanding the importance of preparation and things like that. It's just having them understand that piece of not only training the body, but
mm.
train the beast, train the killer, train the one that's going to be out there playing the game that you need to be playing. What I mean? Take
100%.
that mentality into your training sessions versus, just having to do it or you just kind of going through it to survive it just to say you did it. Being intentional. The word intentional, carries a lot of weight in what I do and how I like to go about my business. Getting better on purpose.
Mm.
So that's what that looks like when you talk about that.
Yeah, it's funny that you speak because I've got this thing where anytime I'm coaching an athlete, it's everything has to be with intent. And like what that means is like even if it's your first rep or your last rep, you should try and do that first rep the best to your abilities, and
Absolutely.
you should carry that to the last one. Like
Absolutely.
for me, repeated sprints, I love it. It's the best way to teach the dark side of training and performance and how to
Mm-hmm.
get out of that dark side. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know Coach AJ has this love relationship with the dark side, and he encourages everyone to sort of go
Absolutely.
through it. And
Absolutely.
do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, because it goes back to what I was just saying about training that beast, training that killer. It's like the intent that you need to play the game, and it can go to a variety of sports, but just talking about the sport that we service, which is football, it's a high velocity, violent game. You know, it's so that's what you need to be training at all times. Every rep of everything you do, unless it's something that call for that type of intensity or tempo, it should be done with max effort to the best of your ability because you play the game you don't hold back when you're playing the game.
Mm,
If you hold back when you're playing the game, that's how injuries happen. But to have that intent, every rep, literally getting after it, every fiber of your being is behind this rep, and then it's behind the next one. That's how it should be, from a preparation standpoint, because that's how the game is played.
mm,
So there really is no gray area, in my opinion, on what training should look like versus what practice should look like versus what the game should look like. It should all mimic each other in some form or fashion from an intent standpoint. Like you said,
mm-hmm.
that's a great point that you made.
1,000%. The one that sort of I always go back to Asa. I know he's
Warrior.
currently 100%. I know he's currently injured, but that boy's work mentality and just like his way of being present during all these sessions is
Hmm.
something that I've never seen unless like when I watched this I was like he gets it because
Absolutely.
like there was this incident that happened on the field, and me and him sort of connected on it, and then afterwards me and him got like talking, and I was like, what is it that drives you, like what's your motivational factors? and she told me, and I was like, now I get it. And it sort
Right.
of like clicks because like they've got that personal life that they have, but then when you dig a little deeper, they're actually doing something to get to that place.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Ace, like you said, he gets it, and that's all we're after. At the end of the day, like I said, the buy-in from the athletes, trying to get them to understand and see the preparation process the way you do, getting them to understand the value in intentional work versus,
Mm,
like I have a saying, we get stronger as we go. Like you said, this rep versus the last rep. We get stronger as we go. That's the mentality. During isometrics, I try to keep my guys calm and cool. No ugly face. The shaking. Stay. Keep yourself cool. My family member James Conner plays running back for the Cardinals, and we had a saying called that we don't let it get chaotic in there. You know,
mm,
meaning if we can maintain our homeostasis through the most rigorous of training, how much better will we be as humans, even outside of
100%.
it. So, yeah, ASA gets it. And that's just all you want your athletes to do is get it and understand that part of it because, then the relationship will work that much smoother in obtaining the goals that
Mm.
we want to obtain.
This is also a good point. Is like so nothing like this is developed without an enormous amount of stress,
Hmm.
either physical stress like your reps, your weight, your load, everything like that's stress. But
Yep.
then when you've got that stress and you can connect with it, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying at the beginning, it's important to do the workouts that you're giving them because you know the stress that they're under, and then you
Right.
know how much they're able to push as well.
100%. 100%. It's just meeting in the middle and being able to deliver the message in a clear and concise way, so the athlete understands. And
Mm,
because like you said, that high level of stress, it's not fun. It's not fun. So if you can deliver a why or a rationale behind it, you're giving yourself the best chance to succeed as a coach and building that relationship to be able to administer some of these high crazy loads that's necessary to achieve the performance goals that you're after.
100%. What are some of the philosophies and principles that you use ran through the program at the Cardinals?
Yeah, so a lot of the programs, in AZ, it's just basic rationale, from the residual effects of training. So we did a lot of tempo work, tempo runs, things like that. Just pretty black and white for, like I said, the in season program. The stress that they're getting from the field is just in the contact and all the factors and variables that you have to consider from a football side of things, there's really not much you can do from an S&C side of getting too creative or too pretty, if you will.
Mm,
So just hanging on to, overload and progression and just being strategic with the residuals, making sure we're hitting every bucket that we need to, we're hitting our speed, we're hitting our max V outside of the practice field, just maybe once or twice. Everything changes from week to week. Is it a short week? Is it a normal week? Because that changes. We'll have two lifts this week if it's a regular week. If it's a short week, we got a Monday game or a Thursday game. You only get one total body in, but you got to get some speed work in here and there. So it's just pretty much it varies. There's a lot of variation in it.
mm,
So that would be another one of them. It's just literally having to be on top of your game every single day, moment to moment with these guys because anything can happen. Buddy's huge on, you know, his stance on periodization because of that fact. He's been in the NFL for a while, so he's seen a lot in terms of having to pivot and reroute on the fly just because a guy comes in, a day after he felt good and then he just
mm.
doesn't because of whatever happened in the game. So, it's just literally just the residuals,
Can you
strength.
explain what the residual is?
Yeah, so every motor quality, strength, speed, um, glycolytic systems, it's use it or lose it, so to speak. Just like the principle of reversibility. So strength has 30 days plus or minus 5. That if you don't train, your strength for 30 days. So say I don't touch, do any strength training for 25 days, I'll still have my strength reserve when I get back into the weight room. But after that 30 days plus or minus 5, it'll start to decrease. It'll start to go away. So all you have to do is tap into it one time to keep the ball rolling in that regard. So that's pretty much the biggest thing you can do for those athletes at that level in regards to them being in season
Mm.
and just having to keep them healthy and ready to go from Sunday to Sunday or
Yeah,
whatever day they will be playing on.
100%. And I think this as well is like it's kind of building their armor off season, so
Hmm.
that in season you can sort of like it chips away at it, but you're constantly keeping that sort of field strong enough for them to keep going with it.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest thing of it, is understanding. And, I try to tell guys all the time, when those workouts are happening in February and there's not a game in sight, that those reps matter. Because
Mm,
every rep that you do over the course of your off season, general prep program is going to be your armor that you have to available to you for the course of the season once it kicks off game one. So once
1,000%.
again, getting them to understand that part and being dialed and efficient in the off-season program, it'll carry them, the distance of the season. And Buddy made a point to me as well, that sometimes you'll see the value of a guy's training regimen, off-season training regimen, through how they look after an injury, and then they train during return to play, and they
Mm.
come back better than they arrived. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. So I've got this thought, and I've kind of spoke with Caroline over it because she did the yoga side and she does like a lot of the PT stuff now. But we were speaking about how you can train for injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I know that
Oh,
sounds weird to say, but
no.
sort of if you train, so say ACLs are big
Mm-hmm.
injury points in American football. But if you've got ACL specific work within your season or within their off season,
Mm-hmm.
if by any chance that happens during the season, after surgeries and after all their healing processes, they'll be able to come back quicker because they've got that foundation of strength within their ACL.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that's something that we like to do as well. That I thought was very, very interesting is putting the guys in those stress positions, so to speak.
Mm,
So you know ankle flexion or some just positions that aren't pretty. That would
mm,
look like an injury would ensue from said position or joint angle, and then doing some isometrics through that.
mm,
So now you're building resiliency in those positions that if they were to end up in that position in a high velocity, scenario, you're giving yourself the fighting chance of coming out of it okay versus not. Because
mm,
another quote from Buddy, is injury prevention doesn't exist, with our game that we play. So best thing you can do is prepare the athlete. That's our job anyway, is to create
mm,
the most robust athletes that we possibly can. So that's just thinking outside the box and understanding, what common injuries can happen, putting our athletes in those, situations in a controlled environment, and then doing some light isometrics and building up, to try to
mm.
develop some resiliency for when they go out onto the game field.
Yeah, there's this coach in Scotland. His name's Rob Anderson. I've spoke about him before in the podcast, but he's he's like it's what I call like a mad scientist, where he's like he thinks outside the box and tries to see what the best way to solve this problem. And his sort of formula to injury prevention is obviously you've got isometrics, you've then got coming out of isometric movement, and
Mm-hmm.
then you've got ballistic. So essentially, it's like you go from I'll switch it to this side. So say it's a rotator cuff. You've got a band or you're pushing against something to work that rotator. But then he'll have a movement that comes off that, as in like so you hold but you come off. You hold and you come off. As in like an eccentric type movement. And
Mm-hmm.
then the ballistic side is getting that overextended position, that vulnerable position, but making it ballistically. So like those fast twitching muscle fibers are activated, they're getting their work in.
Hmm.
And his theory behind it is essentially that after he does that, his athletes can be explosive to overstretch. But if that overstretch goes wrong, it's easier to bounce back from, or it doesn't happen because he's worked that ballistically in a sense that he's put contact through it to stop that from becoming a problem.
Exactly. Exactly. So that goes back to what I was just saying. The high velocity game. If you can somehow train your athletes in those positions at a higher velocity, now obviously you're running in, it's risky business, so to speak, right? But if you have enough research on your side, and you're diligent and detailed enough
Mm,
in your approach, it pays off, because it's like, why would you not, in my opinion, why would you not? Because if we can, put ourselves in these positions before we are exposed to them in the high velocity environment, and get as close to putting ourselves in those positions in a high velocity
mm,
environment, I think that that's more positive than negative. Once again, if it's done safely and intentionally.
100%. And the thing is, like, we're not sports coaches. We're just there to sort of build this armor and like
Hmm.
balance these athletes out so that they can go out into the field and perform the best that they can.
Yeah, I mean, it just
And
goes back to specificity,
mm,
just being understanding the game. But that's where understanding the game comes and brings value to the weight room, is because you understand what a receiver is looking like when he's breaking on this route, that route, this route. You know what
mm,
he has to do. You know the technique. So now okay, that enables you to be more creative. You understand what a DB's hip level looks like, where his center of mass is, coming out, breaking on an out route versus breaking on a slant. So now you're
mm,
able to, do some banded work, do some resistance work, to have him, and to be able to train these specific movements and prepare the body to be able to do those things on the field, which is our job, is to prepare them to play the game. We're an
yeah,
accessory to the sport. So, just being able to identify all those different, movements and positions from position to position, and then be able to come up with different ways to train them in the weight room. That's I
mm,
think that's I think that's the beauty of, what we can do as preparation coaches.
100%. How beneficial have you found, obviously having played it, to now coaching it? How beneficial have you found that aspect of your now coaching?
It's tremendous value, because like I said, I understand the thought processes of our athletes. Training sucks to a lot of them. They don't want, you got to be like me, you got to be like you or AJ or somebody who really, lives to get after it, to appreciate it while you're in, while you're playing. So, you
Mm,
got class, you got everything like that. So, if there's something that you could not be doing or relaxing, you probably not want to be lifting heavy weights and getting your butt kicked in the weight room, right? So, just using that piece, understanding how the majority of our population thinks, it's a negative thing on training, and
mm,
especially return to play, which is something, that I'll be, hanging my hat on, through the rest of my career, is just defying those negative thought processes that exist out there. I know how the athletes think. I know what they need to do from a positional standpoint as far as movement goes, you know,
mm,
and just different things. It helps you with, resiliency techniques in off season conditioning, understanding the different scenarios of the game flow. So now you can inject a specific stimulus in off season training to support a 2 minute drill, or
mm.
whatever the case may be. But it's just that added football knowledge from the other side, and bringing it to the SEC side and being able to implement different things that way, I think, carries tremendous value.
Yeah, I think for me, I was able to sort of hang with you guys because I've got rugby experience,
Hmm.
and like they're not the same sport, and I've tried to explain to some of the guys that at the team, the difference between football and rugby, because they're kind of the same, but they're not. Like, I wouldn't say one's harder than the other. I think
Mhm.
it comes down to different velocities. You're able to achieve a lot higher velocities in American football than you are with rugby. Like,
Okay.
they'll be fast. Rugby players are fast, but the impact against each other, the forces that are created within those impacts, they're not the same. Like,
All right.
American football players run into each other.
Yeah.
They're running into brick walls.
Oh yeah.
Those guys are solid.
Oh yeah.
But in
Interesting.
rugby, that tackle process is a lot slower. So you're a little bit more. It still hurts. It stings. Like, I've had a couple like numb arms from tackling and just getting after it, but the velocities that you achieve and that impact force is completely different.
Yeah.
And I think like American football is always going to be a little bit harder for me because of that.
Yeah. And like you said, those collisions, those, it's the higher level you're playing the game, this is just the more that it's imperative that you're detailed in your preparation because like you said, it's high velocity. These are juggernauts, literally banging, banging, banging every single snap. So
Mm,
it's truly about being efficient, with the work and understanding what the players need, from an individual standpoint, from a team standpoint, and just really being committed to the development of the athletes versus any other possible scenario that a coach could be in it for.
mm,
It's a very sensitive subject, in my opinion, that should be taken very, very seriously.
yeah, I think the individuality part of the programs can be a bit hard to achieve as well. Can you go through the process that you've sort of seen implemented for that?
Can you say that again? Repeat
The
that for me.
individualities of the programs for each player.
Yeah. So, just in terms of program design or, exercise selection, there's differences from player to player from, positions. Obviously, rhinos versus cheetahs, offensive linemen versus skill is something that I learned in Arizona. So that's one, individual difference right there. Then, to dive deeper, two skill players playing the same position. One may have significantly less shoulder range of motion than the other one. So maybe this exercise won't be able to service both of them. So we need to do, we want to keep the same stimulus, but we have to figure out a different way to go about it.
Hmm.
That just falls back on the coach of being able to identify that and then once again pivot and make a difference.
Yeah. The thing that people don't know as well is like how quick paced this industry is and
Hmm.
how much you actually have to keep up with.
Yeah.
How did you find going from one to the other? So we're back. Um, so
You
we were
good?
just talking about, yeah. So we were just talking about the difference between the paces of UW and the Cardinals, and how did
Hmm.
you find that?
It's like I said, it's a black and white difference. Simply because of the athletes that you're dealing with. For one, the sports season that you're in. I was at UW in the spring, so it's a little more grinding going on. But as in comparison to being at the NFL level, where we're in season or
Mm,
training camp. We're in that preseason mode into the end season. So, the pace slows down to a certain extent, but when we're going at the
mm,
NFL level. When it's the tempo, when we do tempo runs, when we do our dynamic stretching or anything like that, it's a very high intensity, a very high level of focus. But it's very short lived, obviously, because the workouts aren't that long. They aren't, it's not a very high volume of work, but it's very, intentional, very high intensity, very, very focused.
yeah. What's the process like between each season for the NFL in terms of work capacities and sort of what you're actually able to do with
Yeah.
them?
Yeah. So, your preseason work, so during training camp and in season, we'll look, exactly how I just described it. Um, and then we'll go into active recovery or restoration, to where now you're getting them no weights. It's just a lot of bike work, swims, things like that. Starting to reintroduce, the functional movement patterns that are going to then be loaded, moving into the general prep phase, which will follow the
Mm,
active recovery phase. But once the season ends, it's just about rehabbing injuries, taking stress off the mind, um, getting the nervous system dialed back in, the neural pathways necessary for the squats, the lunges, everything that's going to then be loaded as we move into the GPP phase
mm.
and get ready for the off-season grind.
What's GPP?
General preparatory,
Okay. No, it's just
huh?
so we know what each thing means. When it comes to, and you've just touched on it, the loaded movement. Can you explain that and sort of explain why that's important for these guys?
Yeah. So Buddy does a lot of good work in understanding the nervous system. The body can be trained, right? It's not rocket science. So he likes to dig deeper and understand how the brain is working and how efficiently we can upgrade our training, to support the brain's part in the whole process. So doing those body weight, lunges, things like that, just getting back dialed in from that side of things is just preparing the central nervous system to be that much more efficient when the weights come, and then you start to develop those neural pathways. Now we're talking about neural pathways versus just your standard lateral lunge or front lunge or back squat. Now we're talking about training what's responsible for the optimal efficiency of that movement, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's because our whole objective with these athletes is to get them stronger doing movements that they do on the field.
Hmm.
And it's thinking about it's not sport specific because that's bollocks, but it's making sure that they've got the fundamental strength there to be able to perform these movements at a high level.
Right. And that's how training progresses, right? You go from your off season phase. It goes from general work to more sport specific. So when we're training the nervous system here, we're getting it prepared for the general work that they have coming up, the high volumes, the basic movements that they'll be doing, with super heavy loads, right?
Mm,
As we get into that grind season. And then you start to shift the focus. Now we're doing more sport specific movements, and then those will get into those, unloaded, getting the CNS prepared for that, and then we'll start to load those up as we move into peaking and maintenance. But it's just all about servicing the CNS and being educated enough to understand that piece that it plays in this whole thing that we're trying to do.
100%. So how has your role changed since you've sort of been back at UW?
So I'm just pretty much I'm working in recruiting and helping Coach Mack out here and there wherever he sees fit. Getting ready to finish up my CSCS here, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah. What's it like having to help with the recruiting phase and sort of that aspect of the business?
I love it, man. It's all because it's all about relationships. It's all about being a people person, understanding people, and just being able to go out there and connect and impact, which is
Mm,
what I'm in, strength conditioning for. So just being able to impact people as much as I can, on a daily basis through truth and love. It allows you to just do and meet so many great people from all over the world, truly.
yeah. How has that So what's like the most rewarding thing that you find with that side of what you do now?
Um, I think the biggest thing is, I've been working with our director of player personnel, Courtney Morgan, since I've been back here. And, he literally told me what he wanted to do, and he showed up and did the work, and the transformation has been phenomenal. I can't say enough about that guy, and because he showed me the ropes with the whole recruiting thing, and so to see that type of effort from him, on my side of things, and for the picture to play out how it's playing out, is pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
And
you kind of touched on
again,
it.
that's that impact that I'm after in this thing.
Yeah,
Training NFL guys, training college guys, training elite athletes. It's fun, it has its perks, but it's not nearly as impactful as what I'm doing, with my guy Court, and I'm appreciative
yeah.
of it efforts.
I think like this is. I don't think I've ever spoke to you about it, but it's something that you said to me while we were interns, so we kind of had the the less desirable jobs sometimes.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
but it was me and you in the dog pit, and me and you were just cleaning, and you stopped me and you're like, "Look around, look what we're doing compared to everyone else." And it was just sort of like that mentality switch for me, which was like, yeah, like we could have just stopped and just like chatted and just like hung back a little bit, not work as hard, not
Hmm.
push ourselves, but where would we have gone from there?
Right.
And to me, that was like that was one of the times where I was like, fuck, like I'm here for so long, I need to make the most out of this opportunity. I can't just hang back and let it
Yeah.
hopefully pan out.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that piece of it is more so, not to bash anybody, but for the sake
Oh
of it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that it worked for you and it was an impactful moment, because that's how I go about my business. Somebody gives you an opportunity, you work. If you're in it, be in it. You don't cut corners, you don't try to, get out of anything. You do your part to make sure that the whole of whatever you're a part of shines and looks the best as it could. And so, me being an intern for Coach McKeefrey, that weight room is going to look how a Division I weight room is supposed to look.
Dubs up.
Doves up, even working in recruiting, like I when somebody gives me an opportunity, there's where I'm coming to pay it back,
Mm,
full force. As I grow and get better and do the things that I'm trying to do, I'll get, the flowers or whatever is deserving of whatever, not that it matters, but to be, it goes back to servant leadership for me.
mm,
I mean, if I can do my job and do my part at the highest level possible, and then the whole thing looks great, I'm good. I'm more than good, because I know my best in that, my effort in there, I've made tremendous strides, you know, throughout the whole thing, whether there's recognition on my end or not. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? So it's just keeping that, that humble servant mindset, and just willing to be, willing to go the extra mile.
mm,
It's not the skill of the man, it's the will of a man. What are you
100%.
willing to do? And there's, I'm willing to do whatever, through respect and acknowledgement of those who give me an opportunity.
100%. And to like further emphasize that, when I got this opportunity to come across there, because like I'm obviously in the UK, it's not every day that someone from Scotland goes across to UW and gets a chance to coach.
Right.
For me, I was super appreciative. Like anytime that us as interns got to speak out, the first words out of my mouth is I appreciate this opportunity for being here and you taking me under and sort of helping me do this and be where I'm at.
Yeah.
But the thing when I came across there was in my head I've got 5 to 6 weeks to let them know who I am and to remember me.
Yeah.
And for me, I made sure that every day I was the first one in. I was there. The first things I would do, I would help set up as much as I could before everyone got in, and then when the athletes got in, everything was like ready for them, as everyone did.
Yeah.
And then I would stay later to help out with different departments, because to me, it's like the more people I get to know, the more people I get to connect with, the more contacts I have, and that's
Yeah.
again Coach Mac's mentality is like you're here for a limited amount of time with us, make sure you make the most of it.
Hmm.
So for
Yeah.
me, those 5 weeks or 6 weeks were super like on every single time.
Yeah. And for me, and I say this humbly, like, coming out here to Seattle from Pennsylvania, it was mission purpose driven, was to, create opportunities for myself that, I didn't think was possible at the time for where I was, in life. So came out here and, literally put my head down to the grind and went from, private sector high performance to college high performance to NFL high performance, all in less than 365 days. And it's because of that focus, that work ethic, just truly that grind, and being, just being so focused on the task at hand, not wanting to let anything, get away from you. This is gems. It's not, everything doesn't have to be about money. It's the experience that you get from certain opportunities that'll take you, you know, put you light years ahead. And that was something that, to piggyback, like you just said, Coach Mack, that was something that he said to me, before I left out for Arizona. He said, you make them keep you. You go out there
Mm.
and make them keep you. And that's true. That's literally what I did, was just went out there and with me for the short amount of time that I had, which was 4 weeks, was all that was promised. And it led me to being, my performance led me to being retained for the season. So, it works. As cliche as it sounds, it's not. Cliches are only cliches to people who don't work hard.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Hmm.
Something that I've been getting into a lot with speaking to different coaches in different sort of parts of sport is their phrases and their quotes that they have for like specific moments in their career. What are some of the sort of phrases and words or things that you live by within this industry?
No days off. No days off has been one since I was, 15 years old. I got it. It was like my second tattoo. So on my arm. No days off is one of them. Hustle, grind, execute. That's a three-part phrase. Hustle, work hard with determination to earn the life you deserve. Grind, pushing through the mundane tasks necessary to succeed, and then execute, putting in the work and letting your results do the talking. Um, and then hustle, grind, and execute. That's literally what we do from a preparation standpoint. So, it can be interchangeable in that regard. But I look at that three-part phrase as my life mantra. You know.
Hmm. Yeah, I've got one that's shy boys don't get sweet. And that for me, that's what's carried me throughout my whole life. When I was in development squads and sort of getting up to trials and all that stuff, one of my coaches stopped us and he was like, "Guys, this is like you're in trials for perhaps going into the development squads of Scotland. Like you need to think about this as in like shy boys don't get sweets. If you don't go out and perform your best, then you've given someone else that opportunity to rise to that. So
Absolutely.
if you want
Ooh.
it, if you want it, go and get it. Cause like
Mmm.
shy boys don't get sweets.
Mmm. Come on, Manny. Come on. I
Hundred
like it.
percent.
I like
And like
that.
that's what I've lived by since I was 16, 17, 15. It's like shy boys don't get sweets. Any opportunity that comes, I'm there. Like
Thank
I'm
you. You
I'm on
said
it.
because you're giving somebody else the opportunity to rise to it. Ooh wee. Mm-hmm.
And that's the mentality thing that we've been speaking about. Is like you can't let anyone get that better of you. You have to
No.
rise. You have
Mm-mm.
to rise and you have to go and get it.
Yeah. It's the whole why not me thing. Me being coming from a smaller town, like I said, it's to be even in these spaces was mind blowing for me. But it's somewhere that I've always seen myself, at a young age. So it wasn't too crazy to me, especially through the work that I put in, to get here to earn these opportunities. Um, it's just a blessing, and I'm filled with gratitude every
Mm,
day that I'm able to do this job, to keep me pushing forward. So that's why, I don't see it, slowing down anytime soon, just from a work ethic standpoint, because it's all
100%.
built from gratitude. You know what I mean?
100%. And it's like, it's stuff like this. We kind of spoke for the podcast, and I was telling you that, like, I like doing this podcast because I get to speak to people that are like me. and like
Hmm.
there are coaches in the industry that know what the hard and grind is. And for me, that's one of the key things that I love to speak about is that mentality differences between different aspects of life and how they all accumulate to build this one single program.
Yeah. Yeah, I say it all the time. I'm like, I'm probably the most boring person that you can have a conversation with, because all you're gonna hear about is working, grinding, being focused and intentional. You know what I mean? Because that's what drives everything. There's a lot of senseless conversations to be had, um, and it's just about how do you want to spend your time. And I'm
Mm,
always trying to find ways to get better, find ways to learn, find ways to educate. So things that I just learned, I want to educate somebody else on, so that I can get better, get more repetition in it. It's just a never ending cycle, and it's
mhm.
it's just a way of life, and it's not, you don't shun anybody else who, just rather just fly by the seat of their pants. But there's a certain this is a certain tribe that we're a part of, man, and we've earned the right to wear that as a badge of honor.
100%. On something that you've just said is there's a phrase in Portuguese that essentially means you can learn something from everyone, even a dumb person. You can
Mm.
learn not to be them.
Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
think that's one of the things that have sort of goes back to what you said. Like there's a lot of meaningless conversations that happens,
Hmm.
and like it's when how do you differentiate like what a good conversation is with not? And I think I'm as boring as you, Kev, and we've been together, and all
Uh,
we like to talk about is training, hard work, and how to move
hey,
up.
listen, listen, it's gonna get pretty bland over here, man. Listen, listen, I ain't got nothing for you.
100%,
I ain't got nothing for you. Trying to get into some hard work. Oh, listen, we can do this all day.
100%.
What the focus like?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
On that, what's one piece of advice that you would give S&C coaches coming into this industry or just starting out?
Oh man. Just don't overcomplicate it. You know. Me personally, I came in understand, like I said, super humble, just understanding I'm starting no XI degree, no kinesiology degree. Um, so I was just super open to learning the wealth of information, and it kind of set me back, because I'm trying to pull in everything that I hear, every
Mm,
concept, every word, every single thing, and it's just I'm like, how do you train somebody, so just yeah, what's the process of training somebody from this point to this point? How do, like, these dudes, they play a whole season, like how do their bodies last through a whole these are the things that I'm thinking about as I'm trying to just pull in and learn everything there is to learn about strength and conditioning. um, and it wasn't until recently that learned, when I finally understood the true concept of periodization. So that's what I would give them as my advice, is just to understand the process, what the
mm,
process looks like from training an athlete from one sports season to the next, a full macro cycle, and then allowing them to start there to get a good basis of what the process of training an athlete looks like from start to finish, and then let the rest of the concepts and stuff come to you, and you'll know where to put it, versus just trying to take in every single piece of information that you hear and wondering where
mm.
it fits in the puzzle. Does that make sense?
Yeah. On that, what was the best sort of advice that you were given by Coach Mark and Buddy?
um, I would say, with Buddy, don't overthink. Don't overthink it. Trust yourself. Literally do what you do for the sake of
Mm,
the athletes, and don't overthink it. From Coach Mack, I would say Coach Mack's thing, was truly allowing me to be myself and stand firm in who I am as a coach. Don't let the scientific foundation side of things discourage me.
mm,
Not having that background and understanding that that's my uphill climb, and that's something that I still go 100 miles an hour with. every single day, because that's very important in what we do. It's everything in what we do. The practical side of things was something that just came natural to me. The
Mm,
coach, being on the floor, but literally just being myself and standing firm and understanding that I belong in this industry is the best advice that I got from Coach Mack for sure.
100%. I have this very strong belief of a piece of paper doesn't make you a coach.
100%.
Being a coach makes you a coach. Being
100.
able to speak, to connect, to sort of be a part of the athlete's life in more ways than push harder, run faster. Like
Hmm.
the more personal, not personal, because that's a fine line between personal and personal, but
Yeah.
like knowing that what makes them tick, knowing how they drive, how they push. I think great coaches are able to coach. I always value experience over a piece of paper. Always.
Yeah, 100%. With that, to piggyback off what you said, when the athletes know that you're in it for them, and any athlete or anybody that's under your care, when they know that you care about them, they know that you love them, it opens the door for you to have uncomfortable conversations, for you
Mm,
to, maybe come down on them when necessary. But they know that it's coming from a place of respect, a place of love. So the right ones will be willing and upset and accepting of that. And like I said, the opportunities are endless once you have that type of buy-in from your athletes.
100%. And like the thing that's crazy to me, and that a lot of coaches don't do, is as soon as your athletes come, hi, how you doing? How did you sleep?
Yeah.
What did you eat? Have you ate? Did you have a good day? Have a good day on your way out.
Hmm.
It's simple. Like it's it's mind-numbingly simple on how to be a good coach.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you have to be bought in just as much as they are. You know, you there to get them better, obviously, but you're the person responsible for a lot of the stuff that they want nothing to do with. So you know being able to connect with them, being able to understand what they got going on,
Mm,
understanding what the family has going on, it just in you have to know that information. That information is just as good as the information performed in a needs analysis, if you
mm,
ask me. If not
100%.
more, because if you don't have that information and you don't have that buy-in, you don't have that connection, it doesn't matter what any of the 1 through 7 steps look like, because it's not going to get anywhere, because you couldn't get through to this athlete.
100%. I think that is it. It's like it's building connections and just knowing what they are about.
Yeah, and that's a shared concept through strength conditioning side or football side.
Mm,
Any coaching venture that you'll go into, that is the brutal facts of the whole thing. None of the knowledge. You can be the best position coach in the world, but if your players hate you, they won't listen to a word you say. You can
100%.
have the world's greatest hypertrophy program or the world's best speed program, but if you can't identify that your athlete just don't have it that day, or you just you never could get through to that wall, and they're trying to understand why they're doing X amount of this or X amount of that, and you just saying just do it, it's
one
worthless, you know.
Hundred percent. On something that you sort of touched on, and I'm going to blow a little bit of smoke up your arse here. And just because you don't have that piece of paper that says you've done kinesiology or strength and conditioning or physiology or whatever biomechanics, someone has to graduate at the bottom of the class.
Hmm.
And like it's recently that I've learned this, and a lot of people in this industry, so much across here as opposed to there, because I respect coaches a lot, like a lot there, because I know the process behind it. I've
Hmm.
got some issues with how the programs run across here, but everyone at every degree has to graduate at the bottom of their class. So you
Yeah.
will get people out there that's got a piece of paper that thinks that they know it all, and
Hmm.
that's not the case. So like
100%.
when you're speaking about, oh, you don't have this, you don't have that, but you've got the most important, the most fundamental thing about being an effective coach. is
Mhm.
your ability to connect, your ability to sort of work with these athletes and push these athletes to the best that they can be. So to me, that will always trump a piece of paper.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And I appreciate the acknowledgement. Um, but like I said, that's something that I've identified as well is the weakness of not a weakness, it's just an area of improvement. Um, is having that certification, but I'm putting in the work daily to make my weakness a strength and just sharpen, like you said, the tools, the intangibles of coaching, that will enable me to be a very effective coach in this industry, you know, and the rest will take care of itself. I was never too concerned with the whole certification part of it. My main thing was just wanting to make sure that I was doing things right and was honorable to the industry. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And so, that's good enough for me. The rest will catch up, and that's something that Coach Mack said as well. Is that you can be taught anything, but the things that make you can't teach. So,
100%. For me, in my eyes, Kev, you'll always be one of the greatest coaches.
my man, I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. We was down there spraying down, dubs up, man. So you my brother in arms forever, man. You got to know it.
M6,
Yes, sir.
M6.
Appreciate you having me on, man, for
Nah, it's
sure.
all good. Honestly, that this has been it's been a good catch up because like
Yeah,
we've just been us, and it's amazing to just connect with you again and just like speak on the things that we've drilled in about 100 times before.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
need to go up to Seattle at some point soon.
yeah, man. Listen, we're gonna finish this year out. It's been a pretty fun ride, man, and it's kind of just beginning. So the
100%.
focus has to be on more now than ever. Which it just like I said, it grows more and more every day with this young group, and it's just they're a special group to be around, and I'm just honored to be able to be around them.
100%. What was the atmosphere like after Saturday's game? I just asked what the atmosphere was after Saturday's game.
Oh man, it was electric. Yeah, that's what it's. This whole season, every win we get is that much more important because of where we're trying to go, right? And then on top of it being Coach DeBoer's 100th win, just made it even that more special. Um, there's just a lot of history that's being made, week to week within us trying to accomplish the grand goal. But as you know, it's a 1-0 mindset around here. And
Mm,
that's not just 1-0 for the week, 1-0 for the day. It's 1-0, for the moment, 1-0 for the hour, the minute, the sec. It's just going 1-0 and just winning with what's right in front of you and not getting too far ahead of yourself and being where your feet are and taking care of business right then and there. And you do that, everything you'll get everything that you're after or have the
100%.
greatest chance to do so.
100%. And I'm always repping.
What's up, baby? Dubs up.
No, but it has been truly amazing to see it. And obviously, like, I've just partook in the little part of it, but to me, like, it's amazing to see how far that team's come from the season after or just before I started to where they are now. It's phenomenal to see.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, it's special to be around, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be back.
Nice. So what's the next steps for Kev?
Who knows? I'll be back. I got my second, my practical side of the CSCS coming up here in about 6 days. So I'll be fully certified at that point, and then be able to see what's out there for me in terms of getting my first full-time role in the industry. So I'm excited.
Uh,
Talk to a lot of good coaches. There's a lot of networking that I've done. I put myself in a pretty good situation to be successful. um, so whatever comes to me, whatever's for me will be for me, which I understand. So I'm firmly where my feet are every day, and just making sure that I'm the best person, best coach, best man that I can be to service whatever is next for me.
1,000%. I'd also love to have you back once you make these big moves, just connect again and just sort of explore where you are and where you're going.
100%, bro. 100%. You know, my door is always open for you, my man. So anything you need on my end, all you got to do is holler at me.
Love it. If you could just tell everyone where they can catch you and sort of keep up with your journey.
You can follow me on Twitter, Coach Kev, the number 6K, or on Instagram, Conquer with a K and 6K following that as well. Yeah.
Coach Kev 6.
Yeah. Coach Kev, 6K on Twitter.
Here we are. Love it. Thank you so much for hopping on, Kev.
Man,
Appreciate you for your time as well.
thank you for having me, bro. Hey, I just want to let you know, man, I'm proud of you as well. You know, doing your thing with the podcast. You know, this is big time stuff right here. You know, Coach Mack this is something that he really looks forward to and recommends for young coaches. Something that I'm still trying to get, comfortable with myself. So I appreciate you bringing me on this today because this was monumental in my development. I just want to let you know that, man.
Nah, like I said at the beginning, this is us being us. It's not like I don't see this as being something that I'm doing special. Like
Yeah.
this is me connecting with an old friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Well, I appreciate you, brother, and I appreciate you having me on, man.
Appreciate you too. Thank you.